Could you introduce yourself and your role?
Sure. My name is Nicole Sloane. I'm a public defender in Erie County, Pennsylvania. Our office provides legal representation to individuals who are incarcerated, those who are committed to mental health units, are facing juvenile delinquency allegations, and defendants who otherwise satisfy financial guidelines for a free attorney.
What are court costs and fines, and why do they matter?
Well, court costs and fines are financial obligations that can be imposed as part of someone's sentence. Together, they are often have significant impact, especially for people living on limited incomes or individuals who are disabled. So studies, including one by the ACLU, show that imposing high fees make it unlikely for indigent defendants to pay within 5 years. In fact, keeping costs at around $200 allow 75% of defendants to fully pay their obligation. In contrast, more than half of Pennsylvania's public defenders' clients still owe court costs after 10 years, often resulting in jail time or license suspensions. With 40% of Americans unable to cover a $400 emergency, it's no surprise that defendants struggle with court costs that exceed that amount. In Pennsylvania, only 62% of criminal case costs are collected after 10 years. Statistics further tell us that defendants who face smaller fees are more likely to pay them in full, that higher fees dramatically reduce payment rates, especially for the very poor defendants. Tailoring fees to defendants' financial ability actually increases the payment rates, and indigent clients are particularly hindered if fees exceed $300.
How do court costs and fines affect the people you serve?
So these costs can be a serious barrier to rebuilding lives. For example, if someone can't pay, it can lead to penalties like the loss of a driver's license or even jail time. There are people who can't pay their rent, their utilities, or other financial obligations because they fear not making the required monthly payment to the court. This creates a cycle that is hard to break, making it challenging for people to get jobs, maintain housing, or support their families.
What are some ways people can navigate these costs?
Right. Well, the first step is to ask for limits on costs and fines at the time of sentencing. When asked, magistrate judges are often willing to consider jail time served or even time spent going to drug and alcohol or mental health treatment as credit towards costs and fines. Even at the Court of Common Pleas level, it is important to ask the judge at sentencing to not impose a fine or to limit court costs or impose just a minimal fine. If the costs and fines are already imposed, regardless of whether they're ordered by the magistrate judge or a Court of Common Pleas judge, and you're having a hard time paying, ask for a payment determination hearing. For those whose only source of income is Social Security, there is legal authority that indicates that all payments should be suspended until such time as you're able to work, if that ever happens. The Erie County Public Defender has templates that you can use to petition the court for a reduction, waiver, or payment plan based upon ability to pay. At the Court of Common Pleas, it's important for people to work closely with the collection division of the Adult Probation Department and let them know what monthly payment can be afforded if payments become a hardship. Same argument should be made with the magistrate judge if the fines and costs were imposed at the magistrate level.
Have there been any recent changes in Erie related to costs and fines?
Well, there has. Unfortunately, within the last couple of weeks, there was an additional cost approved by the court that added another $250 to all court costs. This is guaranteed to be a financial burden to the poor, especially the disabled. Effective July 11th of 2025, there will be an additional countywide booking center plan fee, which assesses an additional fee of $250 to maintain a central booking system. Some counties chose to set this fee at $50 or $60, but Erie County set their fee at $250 to be imposed at both the magistrate judge's level as well as the Court of Common Pleas level, depending upon where the individual is being sentenced.
What advice do you have for people dealing with court costs and fines who can't pay?
Well, the biggest piece of advice is don't ignore it. Communicate openly with the magistrate courts if you owe money to them, or probation if the fines and costs are at the Court of Common Pleas. There are often ways to reduce or adjust payments if you ask. Seeking help early can make all the difference. If you're scheduled for a contempt hearing, make sure you show up and bring with you the information that you can rely upon to show what payment, if any, you are able to afford. You may also want to apply for a public defender to advocate for you at the contempt hearing.
What role does the public defender's office play in addressing these issues?
We help our clients understand their rights and obligations. We advocate for realistic and fair outcomes and work with judges and probation officers to find alternatives that focus on the rehabilitation rather than punishment. We represent individuals facing contempt for failing to remain current on costs and fines. We also have templates available for individuals who have been unable to come to an agreement with the courts about a payment amount that they can afford.
What about restitution?
Restitution is different from costs and fines. Restitution is owed to a victim, so it's not treated the same. It is important that the defense attorney is very careful to only agree to restitution that is supported by the facts and challenge any restitution requests that exceed that at the time of sentencing. The courts can modify the monthly obligation to pay restitution, but rarely do they excuse the obligation altogether.
And then what final takeaways would you like people to have?
Well, everyone deserves a second chance. So regardless of their financial circumstances, we're here to make sure that access to justice doesn't depend upon the size of a person's bank account.